We've just begun a little sermon series called Moments with Jesus. What I'm doing is looking around the life of Christ and trying to find stories or events or things that we might be familiar with but don't really understand yet. And so last week we talked about the Feast of the Tabernacles and Jesus saying, "Come to me if you're thirsty," and why that was such a big deal when he said it. If you haven't seen that one, you can go look for that video if you want. This week we're going to go to the very start of his ministry in the Gospel of Luke. In Luke chapter 4, Jesus goes to the synagogue, the place of teaching for the Jewish people, the synagogue in his hometown of Nazareth. And he goes there and preaches a sermon to his hometown friends. And they love it. Well, actually, they love the first part of his sermon and they hate the second part. In fact, they hate the second part so much they decide they want to kill him. What was it that Jesus said that made them so mad? What were they missing? What didn't they get? Well, I'll show you that on Sunday, but here is the thing I want you to think about. I think if we were there at that time, we'd react in the same way. I don't think North American Christians are all that different from those people in Jesus' hometown in the first century. What they resisted, we resist as well. Jesus is trying to tell them that they're missing something, and I wonder if he wants to tell us we're missing something too. The sermon is called Look Both Ways, and it comes from Luke chapter 4. That's what we'll be looking at Sunday morning. In our Bible study, we've been going through the book of 1 John, and I've been telling you throughout that letter that John has 3 tests that he keeps applying to his readers, and therefore us as well. The 3 tests sound like this. Number 1, there's a doctrinal test. He wants to know what they believe and what they teach. Secondly, he asks a social test. He wants to know, how do you treat people? Do you love people or not? And then there's a moral test. And that is the test of obedience. Do you do what you say you're going to do, or do you just talk about it? Those 3 tests he's dealt with in individual ways along the course of the book. But now, as we get to the end of chapter 4 and we get into chapter 5, he starts mixing them all together. For a little while, he'll talk about obedience. Then he'll talk about love. Then he'll talk about how we treat people. Then he's going to talk about obedience, and then he's going to talk about what you believe, and he just keeps going one to the other. It gets all mixed together because all of it is part of the gospel. All of it is important. So it's going to be a little hard to teach because it comes in kind of pieces, one verse at a time. It doesn't really flow very well, but as soon as you understand that he's just going through these 3 things over and over again, then it makes a lot more sense. So you'll be better off coming to that class if you've read ahead of time. So start reading in 1 John chapter 4, verse 16, and then read into chapter 5, and that'll help you sort of get a handle on what John is talking about and where we're going to be on Sunday morning. For me, this past week has been a week to connect with people. I've talked to more people and had more visitors and Zoom calls and all sorts of things this week. It was really, really nice. I even heard from people who used to live here but don't anymore. Maybe it's just that February's here and we're realizing winter hasn't ended yet and we really want some connections. I think that's probably true. I've really enjoyed it anyway, whatever the case. I've enjoyed connecting with people. May I encourage you to do the same. May I encourage you to pick up your phone or go to someone's house if you feel comfortable, or even show up here on Sunday morning. Connect with your brothers and sisters here, connect with the Word, connect with God in a way that maybe it's a little harder to do when you're sitting at home by yourself. Sunday morning we will be here and we'd love to see you here too.